What to do, golf fans? Welcome back to Turn Dogs Golf Podcast. This is Liam. Alongside me is Jack. Jack, we had a interesting week in golf, probably is a good way to describe it. It felt like Kurt Kitayama, who did win the tournament, might have been up like 17 on the 18th hole by the time it all came. Made it interesting though. Almost blew it in the water on the right, and then managed to get up and down and win the tournament. But overall, Kurt Kitayama winner. Thoughts, questions, concerns, comments on the week.
Well, I thought it was awesome. Again, I love competitive golf, so regardless if it's Kurt Kitayama and Sam Stevens, fans of both, I love Kurt Kitayama. Shout out, won me some good money this week. It was awesome. I thought that down the stretch, that 18th hole, making it difficult, obviously difficult, but making it dramatic, whether it be from Knapp's group, obviously him leaving it short, Kitayama leaving it high right on 18, just all throughout, it was awesome. And I was glued to my TV for most of Sunday, even though at points I wasn't even home. I was trying to research and look into things and whatnot. So it was awesome. So I thoroughly enjoyed the tournament, all things considered.
Yeah, even though it is like the dog days of summer, that was it was an enjoyable enough tournament that I wanted to turn it on Sunday, even though, again, it's the middle of July, people got 1,000 things going on. So I did find myself doing that. I was a little disappointed by how do I word this? The top tiered talent or the most expensive talent, maybe even on DraftKings or FanDuel. I mean, you had Grazerman, who missed the cut. He was highly priced. You had Burnsy, who finished T60, like two T60-ish.
Mhm.
You had Mav, who also missed the cut. I'm trying to think of who else I was missing amongst that grouping. Tony Finau was highly priced. I think he missed the cut. So I'm not mad about the fact that like it was competitive at the end of it all, but I thought that the higher priced options would play a little bit better last week.
Yeah,
Just
I
shocking.
agree. Yeah, I think that it's one of those events, and we've talked about it a number of times. It's like there's a reason why their odds are terrible.
Yeah.
And if what I mean by that is Sam Burns top 40 was like minus 150, something of that nature, where if he's playing in an event with the larger group of golfers, for some reason it's like minus 200.
Yeah.
It's just weird. You put a lot of these guys that aren't like the cream of the crop, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, it's just like OWGR wise, you have a lot more scatteredness, especially with this event where it's getting to what was he 20 under, 22 under, 23 under, something of that nature. There's so much more room for everything. I mean, we had a guy, Kitayama shot 60 on Saturday. So there's so much more volatility. Adam Svensson opened with a 60. So, like, shooting 68 4 days in a row just doesn't do it for you. I think that's what a lot of the best guys in the world do is they make less birdies, but make less mistakes.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'll just loop in some of the notes I had on the week just to keep it interesting. And Jack, if there are any highlights, you're welcome to throw stuff out too. But obviously, Kurt Kitayama, great win. Some notable guys to miss the cut: Max Grazerman, Sahith Theegala, Maverick McNeely, Tony Finau, Sung Jae Im, Siwoo Kim, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Jack's favorite golfer, or maybe top five golfer currently this year, Quade Cummins. Some of the best low priced options that we were all over: Antoine Rosner, who did make the cut at 6,800. Christian was Wiedenhout, T20. Rico Hoey also made the cut, but I think he finished like T55. Jake Knapp, who we were high on, finished T3. And then Alex Noren, who also finished T7. Our misses were Maverick McNeely. I had him on one FanDuel lineup, so like I guess it's a miss. He was a miscut. Michael Thorbjornsen, who miscut, and then Max Grazerman, who also missed the cut.
Yeah, and
So,
it's funny. The one time I put a note in about one guy that I hate, Liam doesn't call it out. The one time I put in my note, how Tong Lee to suck. Everyone, you are welcome. Every casual fan out there that thinks they had one good showing in a major championship and they're going to come to the 3M and dominate, you're dumb. I'm sorry. You're welcome.
that's true. I didn't highlight the fact that we called out Tong Lee to miss the cut. So good play on that one. Jack, how did your lineups do? Did you look through
I
it at
don't
all this
really want
weekend?
to talk about it
Okay,
because I
got
had
it.
Fishburne and Burns, who both missed the cut. And then I had Burns, Fishburne, and Jackson Suber missed the cut on FanDuel, so no.
Burns made the cut. I think he just finished like T60.
Oh, well then hold on. Let me go back. Hold on. Let me pause. Well, you can go about yours, but now I'm
Yeah,
confused.
or T61. On DraftKings, I went 4 for 6. I had Sam Stevens, who finished second. I had Bez T20, I had Bernsey T61, Rosner T70, and then Thor Bjornsson and Grazerman missed the cut. FanDuel was similar. I had Burns finished T61, Alex Noren finished T7, Bez finished T20, and then I think Ventura, who missed the cut on the number. Not my best FanDuel showing. I lost money there, but on DraftKings, I did win in double ups.
Yeah, never mind. Okay, I don't know what I was looking at
I was
because
going to
I
say,
everybody made the cut on DraftKings except for Fishburne, and then
yeah,
everybody made the cut on FanDuel except for Fishburne and Super. So DraftKings we made, oh wow, on the number on the last spot for money. Thank gosh. I don't know what I was looking at. And then FanDuel we got nada.
nice. And then I remember you have what, like 10 or 11 bets here?
Yeah, I'm not gonna run through them all. A lot of them were made or missed cut. Best
Flash them on the screen
ones.
quick.
Yeah, really quickly. Fishburne did make the cut. I don't know why I keep saying he missed. I don't know. I'm stupid today.
I was gonna
Um,
say, I know Suber missed it. I'm trying to think of who
Rio
else missed
missed.
it.
Everybody that Victor Perez made the cut. Tom Kim made a cut. Akshay and Ricky Fowler made a cut, which was great. Hao Tong Lee to finish 52nd or worse, which I said you can comfortably take a missed cut, but I'm taking the extra 30 odds, which was spectacular. He was good. Biggest misses were McNeely top 40, Burns top 30, Kevin Yu to make the cut, and Rio and Jackson Sewer to miss the cut. So I went down, or I went up 0.06 units. So for anybody that is following along at home, if you bet $100, I made $6 this week, which brings me to up 40.92 units on the year. For the record, I don't bet $100. I might bet otherwise. So we might be up different than $6, but any money is good money in my book.
Yeah. Mine's a little less exciting. I had 5 bets. I had 3 wins and 2 losses. My losses were Antoine Rosner over Victor Perez and Matthew Pavon. I think Victor Perez finished like T8, like T18. So that was tough. And then I had Max Grazerman over Wyndham Clark. I think Wyndham Clark also finished like T15. So that was a loss as well. My wins were Sam Burns over Maverick McNeely, Max Homa over Sung J.M., and Taylor Pendrith over Davis Thompson. Overall, for the week, I am up zero point 0.7 units, puts me up 17.94 units on the year. So not bad, all things considered, just cruising along.
I love it. Over or almost 60 units up between the pond on absolutely free bets. You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. On to your wild cards. How'd your wild cards do this week?
I went 2 for 3, and I actually had a few more. Obviously, they don't count, but I added Sam Stevens and Kurt Kitayama, both top 20 in round one, and those both hit. So wild cards, I ended up going like 15x my money, which was spectacular. But I had Burns top 20 in round one, which did not hit. And then I
Yep.
had Ricky Fowler and Akshay Bhatia plus 290 and plus 310 accordingly, both hit. So if you followed along, you're welcome.
Yeah, that's fair. For my wild cards, I had 2. I had 1 winner, 1 loser. The loser was Siwoo Kim as the top Korean. Tom Kim, who couldn't make a cut if his life depended on it for the last like 7 weeks, proceeded to also finish like T25 this week. Nobody else was really memorable amongst that, so that was a loss. But I did hit on Emiliano Grillo T20 at plus 220. That was a nice win where he backdoor got it, I think, on Sunday, shooting 6 or 7 under to finish, I think, T20 on the dot. So we take those. I now have 16 wins, 22 losses on the year for wild cards. So, winners, how'd your winners do? Anything eventful?
Well, once again, I had Sam Stevens and Kurt Kitayama after the fact when I was doing some extra betting, so we did profit there. But for the pod, Burns, Batia, and Fishburne, no one really came to fruition.
I was gonna say
Actually,
Batia was like
yeah,
T25.
he was my best. Everything else
Yeah.
was right around the 60 range, so nothing fancy.
No, that's fair. For my winners, I had Thor Bjornsson, Ricky Fowler, and Christian Swedenhout. Thor Bjornsson and Bez missed the cut. And then Ricky Fowler finished like T25. So nothing too eventful on that one. Or no, wait, Chris Chalmers now did not miss the cut. He finished T20. I'm an idiot. Never mind. I put that as a cut. He definitely did finish T20. I was like, that doesn't look right. So yeah. All right. So those are the two I got that did anything of value. Beyond that, let's head to the tournament of this week. We are going to the Wyndham Championship at Sedgefield Country Club. This is a par 71 totaling 7,130 yards. This is an accuracy over power type of course. It almost is always wet there during this tournament. It rains consistently this week down in Nashville. It is crazy. It's on cue every year. It's going to rain the week that they go play the Wyndham down here. So expect that to happen again this year because it's happened 5 out of the last 6. The finishing stretch here at Sedgefield is much tougher than that finish at TPC Twin Cities. Should make for a more enjoyable finish. The par threes here are also going to be quite difficult, so that'll be a fun challenge for golfers. Guys that are good at par threes generally or good at scoring on par threes is something to do, but that's kind of a fluky stat to keep tabs on. But this is the 5th most correlated course when it comes to driving accuracy. I can't emphasize enough that is going to be a major, and I do mean major, priority this week. And there's only one hole, or there's one hole on this whole course that is an average driving distance over 300 yards. It's the 18th hole. It's like a 470-yard par 4, which is why it plays the way that it does. Otherwise, there would be 0 on this course. So with that, Jack, let's dip into the DraftKings pricing. I know that the top 3 guys are all in the same range. We have Matt Fitzpatrick, Ben Griffin, and Ben Griffin and Keegan Bradley, not in that order. I was thinking Keegan Bradley, and I put Griffin, and I don't know. I was all over the place.
Okay, well, I'm going to
Regardless,
cut you off before you just keep talking.
thank you.
I think that this is going to be one of those tournaments, much like last week, where the top guys don't do as well as we think they would, but I think they do better than they did last week. I know that you think differently, which is fine, but I think Ben Griffin is going to be an interesting play this week. If you take a look off the tee, he has lost in his last 10 starts only one time, and that was at the Open Championship. Outside of then, he's gaining on average, we're stupid, about half a shot around, which is really good, all things considered, because he's playing in high level events, US Open, Memorial, PGA, etc. So he's playing on the highest of competition. So he's doing really well off the tee. The big one for me when it really comes to Ben Griffin, really taking that leap on that is the approach play, where he is like top 5 in the US all across the board. He's really good around the green. And recently he's had a little bit of a struggle with the putter, but he went from John Deere Classic to the Open Championship, but everything else before that was lightning. So I think this can be an event he really comes back to and kind of goes back to his old self. And I'm really buying low here because if you really take away his 2 missed cuts, he might be 12,100 in this category. So before going the John Deere Classic, I don't know what happened there. I have no excuses.
It was
But
2
Open
holes.
Championship and Wyndham are wildly different. Before that, his worst finish from June to May was 14th place. So
Yeah.
with a grain of salt, take that. I think he should be number 1, but I also have to put into perspective that Matt Fitzpatrick is on just riding a heater right now. Outside of US Open and Memorial, since the Zurich Classic, which is, I don't know how that's a PGA Tour event and the Dell Match Play isn't anymore. 38th is his worst stretch from May 11th to the Open Championship. Guy's been a monster. Off the tee has been relatively close to average. Approach just a little over half a shot around the green, over half a shot around, and the putter for him has been lightning compared to what it was when he was really, really struggling. So he is really accurate off the board all across the game. I really like him this week. And then I'm still torn, really, really torn on Keegan Bradley because you separate the Open Championship, which I thought he was going to finish. I thought I was going to beat him that week. He really came out and did really, really well. Rocket Classic, an event that he should have really taken stride with, 41st, win, 33rd, and has just been really good across the board outside of the Masters. Off the tee, he has gained in 23 of his last 25 starts. Around the green has been lightning. Approach play has been a little hit or miss this year. But more importantly, his accuracy numbers have dropped significantly from this time last year. So I think it's a really interesting play. So I'm not really sure what to do with him because he's definitely starting to get in Ryder Cup gear, Ryder Cup conversations, Ryder Cup, etc., and is already probably in his head starting to think about, am I going to be a player? And what that does, not only is it either A, going to put more pressure on him to perform better, which again, I don't really believe in all that ESPN pressure and all that crap, or B, he might not gun it because he doesn't want, he obviously wants to play, but he wants to be a captain. So it's really interesting to me.
Yeah, you highlighted a lot of it on those three guys. Matt Fitzpatrick's been probably like a top 8 PGA Tour player the last 30 days, just based on his numbers. He's got 4 straight T20 finishes. Jack's talked about how hot his putter's been, so I won't even dig into that. But he did play at the Travelers, which was TPC River Islands. It's a course that's pretty similar, all things considered, to Wyndham and to Sedgefield. He finished T17 there. He played good all across the board, gained in every category. So I think he's a great option to go to this week. Then you got Keegan. He's a good, not a great option in my mind. He's played here 3 times, but outside of last year, he hadn't played here since 2017. He finished T22. He hasn't lost tee to green since Pebble Beach. So he's gained tee to green every event since Pebble Beach that he's played in. But Jack's right. He's, where's his mindset at? He's kind of safe in terms of where he's at currently in the standings. So is he really going to push this week? That's another thing to highlight is if somebody's close to the T50 or T70 or T100 mark in terms of the OWGR this week, they're going to push a little bit harder because they have to try and make sure they get their tour card or into the elevated events for next year if they're T50. So they're going to probably pay more attention than Keegan is, who might just be playing another event before the playoffs. Ben Griffin, if you look at his numbers, Jack highlighted, he's coming off 2 missed cuts, but he hasn't lost to the field in his last 9 starts, basically meaning that he's missed those cuts on the number. He's gained on approach in all 9 starts. He's gained with the putter in 8 of those 9 starts. He also finished T7 here last year and finished 4th here in 2022. You can't knock him that hard for a miscut. When one was at the John Deere, where on the last 2 holes on Friday, he proceeded to 3 putt and 4 putt to make doubles on both holes. That's such a gimmicky miscut.
That's not going to happen again.
Yeah, probably not a thing. The only fault I see in Ben Griffin this week, if you want to call it a fault, is his driving accuracy is just not there. In this field, he ranks 101st, which isn't great. So if there's any reason to avoid him in stats, but otherwise his game has been so good, I totally can see you going back to him. I think more likely than not he's probably finishing T40-ish this week. But I think in this range Fitzpatrick gives you more upside. Just saying.
That's fair.
All right, into the 9K range we go as my screen closed. I have Hideki Matsuyama at 9,800. Down to Akshay Bhatia at 9,000.
Well, I would say that Hideki Matsuyama has looked really, really consistent in the last 2 events, which is the Open and the Rocket Classic. Sorry, you can't say mortgage anymore. Stupid. But he's lost off the tee in 3 of his last 4 and still finishing 13th, 16th, 30th, and 42. So he's right there. One thing that's really, really interesting for Hideki Matsuyama, outside of that horrific yawn that's on my big screen right now from Liam, but he has really, and I mean really, lost distance comparatively to where he has and was at the beginning of last year, around this time last year. He was gaining around 7 to 8 basis points on the field on average in distance. And last time he competed at the Open, he lost 13.1. So it's like 25 basis points different, which is wildly concerning. And his accuracy has gone down dramatically. The one thing that's really saving his game is his approach play and being able to convert those putts. But he is one of those guys that has always, always, always been a grinder and has always found a way, does not have a perfect game by any means. You're either going to see a top 20 or a bottom 20 finish out of Hideki this week. And I'm obviously take that with a grain of salt, but he is so good. He's finishing in these events like the Masters, for example. He lost a shot around with the putter. You take a look at the Truist where he finished 17th. He gained 0.35 shots around with the putter. He's not doing this and still competing. Like what he's doing is like mathematically wrong. So it'd be worth a flyer, but I'm riding a hot hand in Jake Knapp. I'm riding it real good.
Yeah.
You take a look at his last five starts, basically, since the Charles Schwab, 27-4, 21, 22, and 3. Putter's been nuked. Around the green has been as average as you can physically get it. Approach has basically been just slightly above average. Off the tee, he's a menace. But what I think is really, really interesting, you take a look at the first, let's call it 15 events of his last 25. He's losing accuracy 99% of the time. He gained 1% accuracy at the Amex this year. Outside of that, was losing everywhere. He was awesome off the tee last week, putting himself in some amazing spots, and he's been average, 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 above average in his last four starts outside of the 3M Open in accuracy. So if you're telling me a bomber that has been average on accuracy, average on approach, average on butter, and average around the green, weirdly in sports, that makes you a menace.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you're doing that for 4 consecutive days on an event, or respectfully, Matt Fitzpatrick is your number one, I think you have to ride the hot hand.
No, that's fair. I'm gonna start with Hideki. He's lost with the putter in each of his last five starts. He's also missed the cut here at Sedgwick, three straight attempts. He's also coming off a sequence where he's lost off the tee in each of his last five starts, with Jack kind of highlighted where he's lost with the driver a lot. He's just a really high risk target. I mean, he's got enough upside in terms of name value and how he plays to do well. But we'll see on Hideki. I don't think this is his week. Same thing with Jordan Spieth for me. I think this is a week or two early. Course doesn't really fit his game, although he can really make any course kind of fit his game if he plays good enough. He lost bad on approach. He still finished T40, but it wasn't really pretty. Honestly, I think next week at the playoffs is probably going to be a better spot for him. Then you have Harry Hall. He missed the cut here in both of his starts. He's also lost on approach in each of his last three starts. His putter's not even playing that great anymore. I'm just avoiding him this week. Let's see him get back into form first. Jack highlighted Jake Knapp. I mean, he's sending it. Last week he tried to like go crazy for it on 18 to try and get solo second. He's now got five straight T27 finishes, and outside of the Scottish Open, he's gained across the bag at every other event. So I'm quite high on him this week. Now you get to like Robert McIntyre as well, who's at the top of this range. He's been playing really well. He's been about this price point, but like T7, T65, T17, T2, T36, T20, T6. That's all but locking in like a T25, T30 from Robert McIntyre. I think this could be a really good shot for him as well. So I like McIntyre. I like Knapp in this range. Everybody else, I think, is landmine personally. Cool. 8K range we go. We got Lucas Glover at 8,900, which is a crazy price. To Sung J M at 8,000.
Yeah, I think three guys I'm targeting, and I'll say everyone else is like terrifying. Number one is Kurt Kitayama. Yes, I am looking at last week's winner, which I have always said 1,000 times never ever do, to obviously a percentile. But his last three starts have been 5, 14, and a win in three events like this that are not featuring the biggest dogs in the entire world. Putter's been average, around the green has been average. 2.3 shots around at the 3M Open on approach, 1.35 at the John Deere. Off the tee has been a menace. Distance has been ever so growing, and his accuracy has been right around tour average across the board. So you're taking an average driver, or excuse me, an above average driver with a way above average approach game, an average putter, and average around the green play. You're looking at success in a lot of these random events. And you take a look at the events that have been not lackluster, but not necessarily the biggest events. And he's performed very fine over the course of his year or career. It's the big events that he does well at. And I think he's really starting to be able to put together these lower tier events. I say that because those are the ones that usually go to 24, 25 under in packs. So if he's able to score like this and continue doing it, I am so comfortable going to him. Then it's the man, the myth, the legend. We're going Ricky Fowler. He's back, baby. Yes. Do we understand 100% of the time that it's not Ricky Fowler of 2016 winning the PGA Championship? Of course. But you take a look at his like stretch. It's basically since, let's call it RBC Heritage, 15 cut, 16-7, 36 cut, 18-14, 28. These have not been middling events. These have been fantastic events. Off the tee, he's close to gaining a shot around almost. Approach, he's been average. Around the green, he's been above average. And the putter, he's been above average too. But the biggest thing for me that Liam pointed out at the beginning of this has been accuracy. He has gained almost 10 basis points on accuracy in 7 of his last 10. That is insane. The only time he lost at the Open, he was even at the Travelers, and he was plus 1 basis point at the Rocket Mortgage Classic, where he did miss the cut, and he almost lost a shot around with the putter. That doesn't really happen with Ricky. I think this is a really good spot for him, and I think after the John Deere Classic, even finishing 18th place, which was like 14 under par, I think he's getting back in the mind of being a little more aggressive, which I think is really good for him. And last but not least, in this category for me is Sam Stevens. Yeah, Sam Stevens, Liam talked about a number of times last year on these longer style courses and shorter style courses. Sam Stevens really seems to put it together. One of the big things for him that we've talked about over the course of time is he doesn't score. And scoring is relative. He's not going to 16, 17 under. John Deere Classic, 21st place. He was runner-up last week. He was third place at the Byron Nelson, which I think that got to 20 under for third, because Scotty was in the 30s. So it wasn't
Yeah.
even close, it wasn't a fair fight. So he's really surpassing expectations with the putter around the green. Approach play has been average. Off the tee has been a monster, getting in 10 of his last 12. So I feel really good about going to him. And if his accuracy numbers can be even content to what he's been doing, I see a good week.
Yeah, Jack highlighted Ricky Fowler is another guy I like. His accuracy's gotten way better. I won't dig into that too much. I'll highlight Lucas Glover because what do we know about Glover? He plays well on short, accuracy-driven golf courses, and he shows up for you at probably like an 80% clip when it comes to those short, accuracy-driven golf courses. He did win here in 2023. He's great as far as driving accuracy. He's great on approach play. He is absolutely god awful with the putter. But he did gain with the putter in each of his last three starts. So he's turning a corner. He's now getting to an event that's good for him. He's gained in three straight. It's an option to go to him this week. I don't know if he's high on my list to get to, needless to say. There's Siwoo, where I feel like everybody always talks up Siwoo Kim when he gets to the Wyndham. I'm avoiding him this week. He has lost with the putter in 7 straight starts. And at this event, he's lost 16 strokes gained putting in each of his last 3 years here. He is a strong fade. I'm seeing some people be like, Siwoo at Wyndham, it's got to be good. And I'm like, no, it ain't. So I'm avoiding him this week. Last guy I'll mention in this range, Ryan Gerard. I've basically talked about him a lot this season. His big weakness is always the putter. So of course, the week that he puts it all together, he's going to be dangerous. Turns out it was at Barracuda when it had basically minimal effect on us. He now goes into this event hoping to basically back up that performance with another top finish. The rest of his game's always good. If he's coming off a good putting week, let's just hopefully hope he carries it along. I think he's a solid option to get to in this range. So, all right, with that, let's get into the 7Ks. We have Cam Young at 7,900 down to Sahith Theegala. Wow, fall from grace, 7,000.
Yeah. So a couple guys right off the bat that I really want to talk about. One is kind of Cam Young. I think this could be a weird week that we see some expectations being met on what Cam Young can do. Granted, again, determines that he does the best at are going between 7 and 10 under. So with a grain of salt, like obviously did really well at the US Open, but he also did well at the RBC Canadian and he finished 16 under. And that was a really big one for me in terms of being able to see that, see the ball go through. Open Championship, he has always done really well there. He's kind of like a Xander Schauffele light, and Open, just with the way he hits the ball, he was like basically average everywhere on stats all across the board. He lost 0.76 shots overall. His accuracy was really good. He is just such a pure ball striker that if he's able to get himself in the middle of a fairway, he is able, and again, with a grain of salt, these are professionals. They're supposed to be able to do that. He is able to ball strike if he plays the way he needs to so well. And I think what's really interesting is you really take a look at, I mean, he played here for the first time, finishing 22, but his approach play has been so much better than it was even 8 months ago. At the start of the year, his first 10 events, he lost strokes on approach in 9 of them. That is not like Cam Young. So if he's able to come back and put himself into some good spots, he has the ability to have a nuke of a putter. So I love that. Next is Nikolai Højgaard. In his last three starts, obviously two of them were international, so take it with a grain of salt. 14-4, but 24th at the Rocket. Um, I say runner up at Zurich, even though I don't know how that's a if don't even get me started. That's the worst event ever. If you watch that event, you're a degenerate. Hi, my name's Jack. I probably watched that event. But off the tee, he is above average on every statistical measure, and he's a nuker of a golf ball. A lot of people don't see him as a nuke of a golf ball. He has over 20 basis points on distance in 7 consecutive starts. That is disgusting.
He
The
also
one,
finished T5 here 2 years ago and
yeah,
T22 last year, I think.
correct. And if you really separate what I think separates him in terms of the category for me, his accuracy numbers on the events that he's been struggling at, which are in the middle of the year around March and February, -12, -10, -19 basis points on distance, or excuse me, accuracy. He's hovering in his last 7 events at around 3%. So he's really decreasing that. And if you're putting up these numbers, I absolutely love it. And then if you guys want a risky one, my guy, Jackson Koivon, one of the best college golfers of all time. Fight me if you want on that. If you really take a look at his stats, he's 5 of 7 on cuts, which is I can't even describe you how good that is in the events that he's playing.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to go through this path of struggle. 6th at the ISCO Championship, 11th at John Deere, missed the cut at the US Open. Who cares? You're not ready for that anyway. But think about that. Back-to-back top 11 finishes in your last two PGA Tour starts. This guy's coming into it. You really look at his statistics. He ranks in the top 50. Again, this is not official because he hasn't played enough rounds yet. But if it was, top 50 in driving accuracy, ball striking, and strokes gained total. That for a guy that is why I lost his price. I don't even know what his
He's
price
like
was.
7,200 or something like that, or 7,400.
7,200. That is absolutely crazy. And I think that you have to potentially lean into a little flyer there. It is disgusting. I'll say two other things that it is wild to see Tony Finau in this category. I
Yeah.
really feel bad for him because I think a lot of people are fans of his, and I would love to see him turn it around. I know you'll talk about one of my favorite players of all time in Bez, so I'll leave him for you for one time in my life.
Okay.
But I think that another one that people are going to look over is two names really quickly to add if you really want to. Chris Kirk and Thomas Dietrich. I think those are two really solid players across the board. I'll let you talk because I have a guy that no one is talking about this week that I will mention.
There you go. Koiman, by the way, is 7,400. So same rule still applies. He'll be fine. Jack highlighted Nikolai Hoyard. I think he's going to be great and probably a steal for his price point. I mean, if he was like 84, 8,500, I don't think people would have flinched based on how he's been playing. There's Emiliano Grillo, who had one bad round at the 3M on Saturday, but he's continued to be a great tee to green player. I mean, he's also improved massively when it comes to the putter as of recent. He's gained with the putter in 4 of his last 6 starts. He's also one of the more accurate drivers of the golf ball in this field. I think he's like top 15 as I kind of dug through. So Emiliano Grillo is a good option to go to this week if you want to do that. Jack highlighted Jackson Koivon. I don't even think he's a sneaky play. I think he's just a great play this week. He hasn't played much, obviously, because he's an amateur still. He's still an amateur, right?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. I was like, I assumed he didn't go pro in the last couple days. He's got back-to-back top 11 finishes. He's screaming hot with the putter. He's gained in each of his last 5 starts with the flat stick. He's also shown he can flush it with the irons. Jack talked about his tee to green play. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do this week. I think he's a great choice. Alex Noren has been great since coming back from his injury. He's a top like 20 putter in this field. He makes a ton of birdies. He hits a lot of fairways. It's boring. It's not exciting, but he's going to be a good option this week. He'll probably finish T30, which I'm very content to go to if you want to go back to Noren. And the last guy I'll mention before Jack goes back to his, Christian Bezuidenhout. I don't understand why he's so cheap when it comes to his price. He's playing better golf than the likes of like Max Homa and Tony Finau, and he's consistently like $300 to $500 cheaper than those guys are. He's gained with the putter in 5 of his last 6. He's also gained on approach in 4 straight, and he's gained off the tee in 2 of his last 3. I think he's going to be a slam dunk here at the Wyndham. He's never missed a cut here in his 4 starts, and again, he's 7,200. So I think he's a great option to go to. Cool.
Awesome.
Anybody else in 7K or is it 6K?
William Mao, my ladies and
Oh, yeah.
gentlemen. This guy is a sneaky dog. He turned pro 2 years ago, went to Pepperdine, shout out. Three top tens already in the year, including a win. This guy is a menace with driving and putting. If he can get you on the golf course with the driver, accuracy, he's just above or just below tour average. He's losing a little bit, but including that, his green and regulation is still 40th. His proximity is tour average. His scrambling is 67th, which is wild for a guy that is horrifically inaccurate, all things considered. Scoring average is 68th, which is really nuts. But one thing that really stood out to me, approaches from 175 to 200 yards, he ranks 16th. So you're talking about a guy that can not only bomb it, but if he has to lay up for whatever reason, that's in his bag. I think it's absolutely crazy. 27th in driving and 33rd in putting usually makes for a really good tour golfer. And you're giving me at 7,000 or 7,100, wherever he was. I'm taking that 10 times out of 100 or 10 times out of 10, excuse me.
There you go. All right, let's get into the 6K range. It's an ugly range, admittedly. I'm not a huge fan of it, but we got Victor Perez at 6,900 down to Aaron Baddeley at 6,000. Anybody stand out for you in this range, Jack? And you can say no.
Yeah, I mean, I call out Victor Perez last week. I thought it really suited his game, just a little slower pace, or not slower, softer paced. I think this could be one and the same. We also saw how he did it. John Deere Classic, he gained 2.2 shots around with the putter, but lost pretty much everywhere else, which is very unlike him in a sense. Guy's a nuke of an approach player and right around tour average with the driver. So I think he can put himself in some good spots and probably make a cut. It's wild to see like Adam Svensson down here, who just shot 60 and finished still 14th, but he's missed like five of his six cuts prior to that. Not a
Yeah,
really great off the tee player. You have Eric Cole, who's in here, who's been fairly consistent for the most of his professional career, but has found this nuke of a landslide. He's one of the worst players off the tee right now. So I steer clear. If I'm really taking one guy, geez, I don't even know if I
Quade
can.
Cummins,
Oh,
6,400.
sorry. Nate Lash isn't here. I hope he misses the cut by a mile.
You're not going back to your boy Quade?
I don't think so, because I thought last week he could have done a lot better than what he did. So it
Okay.
scares me. I guess maybe Isaiah Salinda. He's been really consistent off the driver for most of the year. Just really hasn't put together the approach game, which has led to some really unfortunate putter stats. But I think he has an opportunity to potentially outshine that.
Got it. I have a name and a half I like here. Our made cut demon at 6,900, Mark Hubbard. He rates out really well for this course. He makes a ton of birdies. He's accurate off the tee. I think he's a great sixth guy to have. He's probably going to finish like T45, which is awesome at that price point. And then a guy that I think is an option to potentially throw a flyer on is David Lipsky. Up until the Rocket Classic, he was buns. He was not good. But Pat, like once he got past that, he's got four straight T32 finishes. He's gained in all strokes gained categories outside of putting at the ISCO Championship or ISCO Championship. He's worth a look at this range if you want to get down to his price point. Again, admittedly, I'm trying to stay out of this price point, all things considered. So with that, Jack, let's get into our DraftKings and FanDuel lineups. What are we looking at this week?
Yeah, I will say this is one of those weeks as well that, much like I said last week, don't bet to your fullest content or fullest availability. Be safe. I have Ben Griffin 10,100. I think if he goes back to what he should be doing, he has a really good shot to succeed. Kurt Kitayama 8,800. Ricky Fowler 8,500. Sam Stevens 8,000. Jackson Coiven 7,400. And William Moe 7,100, which I think is a steal on DraftKings.
Yeah. For my DraftKings, I have Matt Fitzpatrick, 10,600, Jake Knapp at 9,100, Ryan Gerard at 8,400, Emiliano Grillo at 7,500, Christian Bezuidenhout at 7,200, and Alex Noren at 7,200.
Awesome. And then my FanDuel, I have Jake Knapp 10,900. If he's just anywhere accurate, his ball striking should be okay. Kurt Kitayama 10,800. Sam Stevens 10,300. Ricky Fowler 10,200. Jackson Coiva 9,000. And William Ho 8,600. I think that sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah, no, it's very similar to the other one, but it makes sense. For my FanDuel lineup, Fitzpatrick at 12,000, Robert McIntyre 11,600, Jake Knapp at 10,900, Emiliano Grillo 8,900, Christian Bezuidenhout 8,600, and then Mark Hubbard at 8,000. Cool. On to bets. Jack, what are the bets looking like this week?
Yeah, I said don't bet a lot, and I still picked 9 bets. A lot of them are plus money, so I think you have an opportunity here to really pass some levels because odds are relatively not great. So
Yeah, they're
Matt
soft.
Fitzpatrick top 40 is minus 190. Honestly, if you're giving me for under zero point 0.5 on the return on investment here for the number one player in this field, I'm taking that 10 out of 10 times. I also have Ben Griffin top 40 at minus 170. Again, if he comes to even 70% of what he was doing, he should hit top 40. Kitayama top 40 is minus 120. That was as good of a performance last week as I've seen him since he won the Players, so I'm taking that. Sam Stevens top 40 is plus 105. Ricky Fowler top 40 is plus 105. Love that one. I'm taking a little flyer on Jackson Coivan top 40 at plus 125. I think he has an opportunity to really shine. This is where I wish he was available for made cut, but this event has like 6 players on made cut as of like noon this morning, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
Christian Bezuidenhout or Bezuidenhout on the professional, we just say it funny over here. Top 40 is plus 105. As Liam mentioned, he's about as accurate as you can get. I have William Moe top 40 plus 160. And then I have Jake Knapp 42nd or better at minus 120. His top 40 odds were minus 115. So you're giving me 2 extra placement points and 5 worse odds. I'm taking that all day. So
There you go. For my bets, I have 5 this week. I feel pretty confident on 4 of them. So my first 4 that I'm confident on, I got Alex Noren over Jesper Svensson and Henrik Norlander at plus 160. I have Adam Scott over Siwoo Kim at plus 100. I have Ryan Gerard over Sam Stevens. This one's probably the least of the 4 confident ones I have, but I still feel solid on it at minus 110. I have Matt Fitzpatrick over Keegan Bradley at minus 110. And then my wild card out there, main pick is Matt Fitzpatrick, round 1, top 20 at plus 225. So if he's playing as well as he has been playing, he should have no problems finishing top 20 in round 1. So that's the thought. All right, Jack, wild card. What do you got?
I got 3. I got Ben Griffin top 10 at plus 280. It's going to be confusing when you see Liam's wild
Yeah.
card here. But I just think that this course should really go back to what his roots are in his game. I think he has a really good opportunity to succeed this week. I think this should really bring back some confidence in his game, going back to a more normal style event than what he's been doing. I also have Ricky Fowler top 20 at plus 260. This guy's been on that or close to it in basically every single event in the past little bit of time. So I think he's got an opportunity to shine that. And then I think I have playoff at plus 333. We've seen with events that don't have Scotty, Xander, Rory have fairly been across the board consistent. We've always talked about, I don't care who it is, as long as it's competitive, I'm rooting for it.
Yeah.
I think this could be a week that we see a little bit less of scoring and a lot tighter of gaps. So if you're going to be over 3-1 for a playoff, I'm taking it.
No, that's fair. For my wild card, it's all based on driving accuracy. So again, Ben Griffin miscut plus 225 is my number, and I'm basically saying like, hey Ben Griffin, you are really good in this field, but for whatever reason, your driving accuracy is going to tank your value, and you're going to somehow miss a cut this week. I hope for everybody's sake it doesn't happen because I know he's very popular and a lot of people have bets on him. But this is something I'm going through based on driving accuracy alone. So that's my wild card, plus 225, Ben Griffin, Scott. Cool. Winners, what you got?
Yeah, I probably would say this is another event. Bet like a tenth of your unit on winners, respectfully, as someone who probably will still do a full unit. Kurt Kitayama, 35-1. Again, I will say I've always hated going back-to-back winners unless you're Tiger Woods, where in his prime he was basically winning half the fields or half the tournaments he entered. Crazy stat, look it up. I have Ricky Fowler 55-1. He has been hovering around 20th place on average for consecutive weeks in big events and small events. He just has 3 amazing rounds and 1 good round. We're going to see another Ricky Fowler like Rocket last year. I'm looking forward to it. And I have Sam Stevens 60-1. I think that the driver can really put him in some good spots this week. And if he's putting how he's been putting, he can be on the leaderboard come Sunday. So,
No, that's fair. I do find it funny. I had Fowler last week, and I was very content with him finishing like T25. So
yeah,
I'm sure when you have him this week, he's gonna finish like T20 again, and you're gonna be like, sweet T20 out of Fowler, not
I'll
bad.
take it.
All right, on to my winners. I have three still. Matt Fitzpatrick at 19-1, Jake Knapp at 37-1, and then Christian Bezuidenhout at 75-1. So that's really it for the Wyndham. This is a weird kind of event because obviously playoffs start next week. So next week will be a real barn burner as far as getting all the big names back in here. But everybody, good luck. Jack, have you seen the new Happy Gilmore movie yet?
I refuse to watch that crap.
I actually watched it. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I would have asked you what your favorite cameo is, but never mind. I won't. I will just say that I loved Scotty Scheffler's cameo, and the little end credit scene with him at the end is absolutely hilarious. So, highly recommend it. I thought that was very funny. I also thought Will Zalatoris and that was actually hysterical as well.
Maybe you should stop doing acting and go to physical therapy.
Well, yeah, I thought he was hilarious, and I thought Scotty was hilarious. Those are the two that stood out to me. Outside of like Bad Bunny, who was in
Bad
there.
Bunny?
Bad Bunny, the singer. He's a Latin singer, which is probably why you don't know him. That's fine. Whatever. All right.
Awesome name.
Beyond that, shout out to Scotty and Will Zalatoris, who are my favorite cameos in Happy Gilmore. But with that, we will leave you to it. We will see you next week for the St. Jude. Have a good one. Deuces.